This here is the Power Rangers The Psychopath graphic novel by Boom Studios. I don't ordinarily talk about one-shots, annuals and graphic novels, etc., because the continuity is often questionable. They don't seem to fit in with the main comic storyline. Not easily, anyway. This, however, is a bit different as the Green Psycho Ranger is involved. The Green Psycho Ranger is a Boom Studios original character, and therefore does tie in with the main comics. Now, with this graphic novel there are two stories. One is the main story, The Psychopath, and the other is a short story called Psychotic. Psychotic was actually printed in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Year 2 Deluxe Edition, but it's included here as well. In my opinion, it's best to start with Psychotic on the grounds that it was printed first and actually provide some history to Psycho Green. We start on the planet of the Supersonic Rangers, who were adapted from the Japanese series Chikyu Sentai 5-Man. We've already seen a Supersonic Ranger appear in Power Rangers Super Megaforce, but not the whole team. So this is a first. It's also good that we actually have an explanation as to where the supersonic powers came from. The writers for Megaforce were just lazy and just introduced pre-Mighty Morphin powers without explanation other than their new powers. The Red Ranger is a seer and can see into the future. Because of this, he has all the intel he needs for the next mission. The Rangers gear up except for the Green Ranger, who by the way is an original Ranger to Power Rangers, as there wasn't one in 5-Man. He's told to stay and monitor the perimeter. Green is clearly unhappy at how Red's visions of the future lead to Green being sidelined. They argue, but the Pink Ranger, Star, steps in. Star isn't pleased with Trek, the Green Ranger, as she asks him how many times she's had to ask him not to start a fight with Red. Trek apparently loves Star, but because there's so much anger coming from him, Star shuts him down, even claiming that she can't read his thoughts anymore, which scares her. Star leaves because the Red Ranger, Ace, needs her. Star catches up to him and the other Rangers as they enter a building when suddenly there is an explosion. Trek powers down and casually strolls over to the blast site. He finds all the Rangers dead and says goodbye to Star's body as he tells her she made her choice. But actually there's one Ranger who's not dead yet. It's Ace who tells Trek that they need help. Trek smiles as Ace wasn't aware Trek had set this up by using a psychic trap to project false images to lure the Rangers in. The morph bomb that went off was synced specifically to the Rangers' unique energies. When Ace asks Trek why he did this, we learn that Trek and Ace never saw eye to eye, and Star may have turned her back against Trek for Ace. As Trek leaves, he asks Ace to look into the future to say what he sees. Ace does just that, but can't see anything. That's because he has no future, as Trek shoots him dead. With that, Trek heads back to the ship and flies off on his own. His destination is planet Infernus, where we see some Quantrons. This then is the home of Dark Spectre, and it turns out that Trek was working for him. We see a child channeling Dark Spectre's voice as Dark Spectre's true form remains hidden. The child has purple hair. At first I thought it was a boy, but is it really a girl? If it's a girl, is she astronomer? If so, this is how Dark Spectre corrupted her. Anyway, now that Trek has destroyed the Supersonic Rangers, Dark Spectre makes him the first of his Rangers. Dark Spectre's energy plus Trek's supersonic morpher creates a power never before seen. This turns Trek into a monster, and so Psycho Green is born. Now we see Dark Spectre's true form, as he tells Psycho Green to find Rita Repulsa and bring her to him. She has stolen a power coin, obviously the Green Rangers, and Dark Spectre does not want Zordon to retrieve it. The thing that irritates me is that, once again, it's implied that the Green Ranger power coin is the strongest weapon ever. Bull! If it was, why did Tommy lose the Green Ranger powers so easily? On the other hand, it is a rather convenient plot device to get Psycho Green from here to the moon, where he fought the first team of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1969. It will take time for Dark Spectre to create new Rangers because he spent a lot of his energy corrupting Trek's supersonic morpher, and the story ends as Trek heads to the moon. So this was a nice short story showing who the Supersonic Rangers were and the origin of the Green Psycho Ranger. Now it's time for the psychopath. I won't cover everything as this is a graphic novel with many pages, so I'll just pick out some parts. We begin at the Sea of Tranquility where Psycho Green emerges from the moon's surface. So he wasn't destroyed in 1969, he was merely buried. And then we move swiftly onto Andros' home world, which is under attack by none other than the Psycho Rangers, and they're looking for Astronomer. So it's been decades since Grace Sterling took on Psycho Green. As Psycho Blue is about to kill a soldier, Karone shows up and stops him, then tells the Psychos that she goes by the name of Karone now. She is struck from behind by Psycho Green, and she says he's new. Of course, Karone never had Psycho Green on the team during the TV show, so she would be surprised at seeing him here. The Psychos don't want to hurt Karone, but they want her for something, and that is for her to come home. The Space Rangers learn that Karone willingly left with the Psycho Rangers and plans a search for them. In deep space, Trek has restrained Karone, whom he calls his sister. Because she's good now, Trek thinks that she must be punished, for Dark Spectre made them evil. Trek tells Karone what happened in 1969, that he was successful in destroying most of the first team of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but that left him buried for decades. I'm guessing he doesn't need food or water to survive then. After Trek escaped, he learned that Dark Spectre was gone, but he did create Astronomer, and she created more Psycho Rangers, which Trek considers to be a family. Trek got hold of the data cards and reprogrammed them to make the Psychos more focused, reasoned, and loyal to a family. He also wants Astronomer back. Karone shows him there's no need to go through all of this to bring Astronomer back, because suddenly she transforms and we see her with purple hair. So in the last few months, Karone learned she could do this. The reason is because her staff was a crutch, that Karone and Astronomer were separate people, and that made her weak, keeping her from using her full potential. Okay, so she's saying they're one and the same now. Astronomer will always be part of her, but she's good. And her ability to switch between the two might explain how Karone, as Astronomer, could go from looking like this to looking like this suddenly. But even so, why did Karone need a wig when disguised as Astronomer? Her face can change in an instant, but not her hair. Karone convinces Trek that she's still bad and gets taken to the other Psychos. There we see the Psychos power down and they're all humanoid. The Psycho Rangers were people before, but Astronomer killed them and then created the Psycho Rangers. So underneath each Psycho there is a person. From here the story is mostly about Karone teaching the Psycho Rangers how to use non-lethal techniques in battle. This also means not having the Psychos kill one another if their vital signs are disrupted. She's basically trying to teach them the value of life. It goes as far as sitting down and watching a movie whilst eating popcorn. Eventually, Andros tracks Karone down, orbiting one of Dark Spectre's old outposts, and things aren't good between them. Andros suspects Karone is still Astronomer, and things get heated as Karone thinks Andros is going to ruin her plan. So she hits him. That's rather uncharacteristic of Karone. But this comic book, Karone/Astronomer, has already deviated from the one we know from TV anyway. Now, there's a clue as to where this story takes place in the Power Rangers continuity. During his argument with Karone, Andros says the Psychos don't deserve names and they killed Kendricks. This must take place after Lost Galaxy's The Power of Pink, but before Journey's End. The Space Rangers then probably borrowed the Astro Megaship. Speaking of which, the Megaship arrives and begins firing on the Psychos' mothership. That means the Space Rangers are here. The Psychos power up except Trek. He's acting like a mentor at this stage and is staying away from battle. During the fight, the Space Rangers notice that the Psycho Rangers are fighting differently. Previously, the Psycho Rangers concentrated on wanting to destroy their counterparts. Now the Psychos are actually thinking, thanks to Karone's influence. Karone and Andros get to the Psycho Rangers data cards, and Karone wants to make some modifications to reprogram the Psychos. Andros, on the other hand, readies his blaster and wants to destroy them so the Psychos can't return. Karone becomes Astronomer again and blasts Andros. Her power knocks Andros out and Karone falls to the ground in tears. With Andros out, Trek and Psycho Pink show up, only Trek is now powered up as the Green Ranger. After a short scuffle, Trek takes down Karone and tries to kill Andros. As he's about to pull the trigger, Psycho Pink hits Trek from behind and then knocks him out. Psycho Pink wanted to save Karone's brother and tells Karone that her name is Nokria, so she's regaining her sense of humanity. After the other Psychos trap the Space Rangers behind a force field, they go to Karone and they're confused as their humanity is coming back to them as well. Karone says things will be easier if they let her reprogram them, but obviously, in order to do that, the Psychos need to be destroyed first. This makes them angry because to them, it sounds like Karone wants to kill them and make them different people. They don't want that because that's basically what Trek did to them. Karone's justification for this is that the Power Rangers will not accept the Psycho Rangers as they are now. Nokria is willing to go along with the plan as she acknowledges they're not good enough and they must be reprogrammed to be a family. And now the doubt kicks in. Karone reluctantly brings Trek's blaster up and she pulls the trigger. The Space Rangers escape the trap the Psychos left them in and see the Psychos leaving, but they also see Karone carrying Andros towards them. Karone tells the Space Rangers that she destroyed the Psycho Rangers, reprogrammed them, and brought them back as good people, so everything will be fine from now on. Aboard the megaship, Karone talks to Andros. The truth is, Karone pulled the trigger on Trek's blaster, but instead of destroying the Psycho Rangers, she destroyed their data cards and let the Psychos go. That means death for them now is permanent. There's no coming back if they die, and of course, they can't be reprogrammed ever again. Andros is angered by this and he throws his locket to the ground and smashing it. He thinks Karone has gone insane again because of her actions. To him, the Psychos are still as brutal and twisted as ever. Karone, on the other hand, thinks that they're good because they let the Space Rangers live. Karone put her trust in the Psychos to give them a chance. Finally, we see the Psychos aboard their ship. Nokria is watching a movie and eating popcorn, so she clearly learns something from Karone. Trek is behind bars under surveillance. He talks to himself as he thinks about the Psycho Rangers' names and breaking their necks. So we have Nokria, Axe, Virgil, Photon, and Yellow. I'm assuming Yellow is the Yellow Psycho. She obviously likes that name a lot. The Psycho Rangers, now a family, are safe to chart their own course. They don't know where they're going, but they'll figure it out along the way. My overall thoughts on the Psychopath. I wasn't very impressed, to be honest. The ending leaves Karone and Andros' relationship fractured. At the end of Power Rangers in Space, everything was fine. Now, everything's in tatters once again. It's nice to see some background as to who the Psycho Rangers were, that they were real people. We saw Psycho Black, Red and Yellow in human form on TV. And by the way, the drawings are fairly accurate to the actors on TV. It was nice to see what Blue and Pink looked like under the suit as well. It's also nice to see that they have an optimistic future ahead of them, should they choose it. But is that really how the Psycho Rangers should be? In the TV series they were pure evil. Did we really want to see them regress and gain some humanity? That goes for Psycho Green too. In 1969 he was pure evil. Decades later he's gone soft and wants a family. At the end he's even imprisoned by the other Psychos. Shouldn't he be lethal? I think this graphic novel was overhyped and it has left me disappointed. This book is for someone who would like to know the Psycho Rangers' lives before they became data cards, and for the complete story on the Green Psycho Ranger. Otherwise, this graphic novel can largely be ignored, like the majority of the one-shots.